I've got a cake to bake, I've got no clue at all. I've got a cake to bake, haven't done that before. Don't be proud, mate, please don't bother. Go, come on, and ask your mother. Oh, we've got some more also rounds to discuss. Gav, run the titles. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome, bienvenue, willkommen, bienvenidos, welcome, benvindo, benvenuti, tervetuloa, and if you're from Norway, I'm very sorry for insulting your country's entry, but I just don't like it. I mean, welkommen. Welcome indeed to the fourth Eurovision 2014 podcast from ESCtips.com. And the last time we'll discuss this year's semi-finalists. My name's Andy Redfern, or @ScandieAndy on Twitter. Just like this year's surefire winners, Artsemiek from Latvia, we've got a cake to bake. And to make the best possible cake, you need the finest ingredients. Which brings us on to today's guest. He's one of the few people ever to commentate on Eurovision for television in 2 languages. Lately, he's been working behind the scenes on SVT's Eurovision preview shows. You can read his tweets at @TobsonHelsinki and hire him at tobsonproduktion.fi. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome, Tobias Larsson.
Well, that was an introduction worth the money, thank you. Pleasure.
Excellent. How are you feeling? Where are you at the moment, Tobias?
At the moment, I am in Karsnäs, which is in the Finnish archipelago, like on the south coast of Finland, working on a TV show that will become reality sometime in the fall. So more details of that to come. But I'm taking some time out from my very busy schedule to talk about Eurovision, of course.
Indeed, and so we'll look forward to watching Tobias Larsson live and uncut in the autumn, shall we?
Well, it's not my show, but I'm working on it anyway. So,
okay.
Yeah. You can look for my name in the
in the credits.
The show is over. Exactly. That's
Yes.
where I am. That's where I live.
Of course, also, to make a cake, you need some boring white flour. Please welcome the head honcho, the owner of ESCtips.com, Gavin Lambert. Welcome, Gav.
Thanks for that, Andy. I see the positive introductions have now ended.
Well, I try my best. Before I start, I'd like to address some feedback which we received on the site this week. A listener called Purple Kylie has taken me to task for my treatment of Norway's Carl Espen in our last podcast, particularly the part about him pretending to be miserable and gloomy. Apparently the song was written by his cousin, and Carl himself sees Silent Storm as some kind of personal mission statement. Therefore, I would like to correct the last line of my review in the last podcast. Carl Espen, piss off back to Norway and take your bloody cousin with you. Thank you. Last week we discussed the first half of the second semi-final. So, this week's songs in running order are Finland, Ireland, Belarus, Macedonia, Switzerland, Greece, Slovenia and Romania. So let's move on to today's first song. Last year, Finland's Krista Siegfrids attracted a lot of attention before and during the contest, but that couldn't prevent her finishing higher than 24th in the final. This year, nobody can deny that Finland has sent something better. So here's Soft Engine with Something Better.
All these words, the lies, grand mystery. All these words, the sweet white lie. All these words you meant to say to me. All these words against my face. All these words before she passed away. All these words will never, never, never change. We follow something better. They can't say however.
Gav, is this something better for you?
Well, Soft Engine have a strong USP this year in that they are the only indie rock band. And in this semi-final too, they offer a very unique sound. The Finnish national final stage didn't really present the song in its best light, and having already seen the Eurovision stage, I think the lighting will work to the strengths of something better. I can see it being a real crowd pleaser. Finland have only a few allies to call on, but I think the current radio-friendly sound of the song will attract many more votes. The vocals and the lead singer's falsetto should also deliver a fairly high ranking from the juries. The only concern for me is that Topi doesn't perform for the camera. That's the main thing they need to work on going to Copenhagen. Finland are qualifiers for me, but again, it's just totally dependent on their ability to interact with the viewers at home. I think they're used to delivering great performances to big crowds, but being able to interact with someone down the camera is an entirely different gig. That's what they need to get used to.
I mean, for me, Soft Engine, well, before the actual Finnish national final took place, they said their inspirations were Coldplay and Muse, and you can definitely hear that in their music. And as a complete indie snob, that means that I should hate them. But I think it's a kind of good example of the genre. In a programme on Yle just before the Finnish final, they had a comment from the Finnish producer Patrik Sarin, who pointed out that although he liked the song, the chorus melodically is just the same line 4 times over. And so, yeah, it should be, well, something better, as it were. Personally, I think, yes, qualifying, but I think it'll end up on the right-hand side of the scoreboard. Tobias, can you defend your adopted country?
Well, let me first address this thing with the fact that he's not performing for the camera. Finnish performers are never doing that. If you're looking at Finnish finals, people are never told to look at the cameras. They don't do camera rehearsals. They do, like, you do your performance and we film you. So Krista Sigfrids was like the only one who ever did it in a national final. So they will shape up. The camera work will be a lot better in Copenhagen for Finland, and the camera contact will be on a complete different level. I have no idea why it's done like that. It's in Finland, but it's always been like that. And, it's just one of those things. So when foreigners look at Finnish finals, they often misjudge the Finnish performers and think that they will be worse than they finally are, because in the Finnish final, the camera work isn't deemed that important. And then I think, I think that these are guys from Seinäjoki, which is a fairly big city in Finland, but not very large. And to have 5 young men from Seinäjoki just write a song, walk up onto the stage and perform it with this kind of, passion and do it so well, I think that's really impressive, I must say. I'm really impressed by these guys. I would have preferred to send them off to Eurovision with their 5th single instead of with their 1st single, to put it like that. I think they are a little bit too inexperienced, and it would be nice for Finland to send off a star for once, because it's been a while since we sent someone who actually had a star status when they won the national final. But I think Finland will be in the final. It will be a close call, but we will be in the final, and that's good enough. When we're in the final and we don't end last in the final, we're all happy with that.
Completely agree with you. I mean, Seinäjoki, it's more known within Finland for kind of middle-aged pensioners music, i.e. tango, isn't it?
Tango music. Yeah, the tango market is held there every year, and it's the biggest song competition in Finland. Huge ratings and
Absolutely.
Very, very popular. And many performers who have sung for Finland through the years and have been in the Finnish finals made their debuts at the tango market. So it's a big, it's like a big talent show in Finland, you can say. It's a little bit odd since it's only tango music, but it's worked fairly well domestically anyway.
Probably most recently, Yari Sillanpää with Takes Two to Tango.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we move on from Finland, who, before Lordi won in 2006, were probably the least successful Eurovision country. They've been competing since 1961, and still Lordi's Hard Rock Hallelujah is the only song they've ever had to finish in the top 5 in Eurovision. And by way of contrast, we now move on to, without a doubt, the most successful country. It's 7 times winners, Ireland. This is Can Lynn featuring Casey Smith and Heartbeat.
Keep your head high above the water. We can make it and break the border. Hold on to my heartbeat, my heartbeat, my heartbeat. Face the danger and face tomorrow. You're a dreamer and you don't know that no story is half the song. Just hold on to my heartbeat, my heartbeat.
Tobias, did it make your heart beat faster?
Well, what should I say? The first listenings, I was like, this is pleasant. I like this. It's sort of, it's like when ABBA had been out of the public eye for long enough, then Sweden started picking up the ABBA sound and stuff. I think this is an indication that Bewitched have been away for long enough so that Ireland can start pick up their sound. Because this could have been the comeback single for Bewitched, I think.
That's a good point, actually, yeah.
And it's a good song. I think that it's very captivating at first. But then I only had to hear it like 4 times before I started getting tired of it. And then after the 8th time, perhaps, it meant nothing to me anymore. It's like, I don't care if it exists or not. And that's not a good thing anywhere. I think it will be strong enough to qualify. Enough people will like it at first for it to qualify from a field of 15 contenders when you have 10 spots in the final to fight about. But I don't think they will do very well in the final. I think this year will be very similar to last year for Ireland. They'll make it to the final, but they will have a very poor showing there, I think.
So could it be 26th again for Ireland?
I don't think they will be last. Not 2 years in a row. I don't think so. But it's all this also, it feels a little bit overworked. It feels like a regular pop song, and they've been trying to squeeze in every kind of Irish reference they can into it. And it's the kind of thing that you would expect from Belarus or something, like this desperate attempt of like us. But, Ireland shouldn't have to do that. They could have relied on, just the song, I think. It sort of shows a little bit of bad confidence, I think. But it's an okay number. It's not bad. It's just that you get tired of it a little bit too fast, I think.
Okay, Gav, I believe you're part Irish. Defend your country.
Well, I think that might be difficult this year. Casey certainly has her fans in the ESCtips comments section, and Casey can do no wrong in their eyes. I think I have to clarify what the more experienced Eurovision gamblers are sensing with Heartbeat, and Casey in particular. For a start, I do like the song, but it's a reprise of the Cause, who were active about 10 to 15 years ago, and like Tobias referred to, Bewitched, who were active ages ago as well. It's not a cutting-edge piece of pop, and it still incorporates elements of Ryan Dolan's entry from last year. The Irish instrumentation is nice, but it's very stereotypical, and the 2 dancers performing a jig at the national final dated the song even more. If they use Celtic graphics again in Copenhagen, Ireland could very well end up in the last 5. Casey entered Eurosong in 2013 too, with the song Kiss Me. Whether the song was suited to her or not, it was clear she was struggling with her vocals, and that is the issue. This year her vocal held up well, but watching her perform, she looked nervous and edgy. The Late Late Show studio is far from ideal, I accept that. However, Ryan Dolan was fine last year right up until the jury rehearsal. Nerves affect the best, and in my opinion, Casey is prone to nerves, and she is one to watch during the jury rehearsal. Ireland have many allies to call on in this semi, so they should qualify with ease. I'm less hopeful in the final though, like Tobias. I think they'll end up on the right-hand side of the scoreboard. I can't see anything better than that.
I would agree with you. I think it's a qualifier. My first thought upon hearing the song was I'm not sure exactly who they're copying. Themselves 20 years ago or Denmark last year, with the kind of pipes and that kind of thing. It's got that sound of Only Teardrops, which was probably inherited from Ireland's, boom time. Well, if you look back 20 years, we get to 1994 and we're in the middle of what I call the farting dog years, i.e. the years when Ireland could actually enter a farting dog and still win for some reason. And it's
a little bit like Azerbaijan these days then.
Possibly, but they've only won once.
Just you wait.
No, that's true. That's true. But you know what I mean. I'm personally, notwithstanding Tobias's Bewitched reference, I'm not convinced that the Celtic tinges work with this up-tempo song myself. But I see it as a qualifier. I really do. But I think, again, right-hand side of the scoreboard come Saturday night. Okay, and now we move on to Belarus. And, well, isn't it typical? You wait years to hear a song about a cake in Eurovision, and then two turn up the same year. Here's Tail for Belarus.
I don't wanna. I'm not gonna be a boyfriend, it's too late. I look over all the maps trying to escape, cause I'm tired of being your sweet cheesecake. I don't wanna be a toy perhaps today. I'm not gonna be a boyfriend, it's too late. I look over all the maps trying to escape, cause I'm tired of being your sweet cheesecake. Cheesecake. I look over all the maps trying to escape, cause I'm tired of being your sweet cheesecake.
Gav, has this cheesecake gone off?
Well, it's well past its best before date. I haven't liked this song since it was first published on the broadcaster's website. The Robin Thicke comparison is the only headline-making element of this song, and I feel it only won because of the cheesecake title. Of the two cake-based songs in this year's contest, Teo is clearly bottom tier, and no amount of sugary decoration can save Belarus from an early flight home. It's a non-qualifier for me.
Non-qualifier for you as well, Tobias?
I quite like it in a sort of, guilty pleasure kind of. I wait for it when I don't see it. I think it's a pleasant little song to listen to. There's a little thing in the rhythmic thing. It's enjoyable. But every time I see it, I think the video is a bit sexist, and the live performance in the national final wasn't, much. Wasn't quite a firework. So I think the visual aspect will bring it down. It could have. The thing is that it's so hard to predict in this semi-final. You would think that it's easier to predict when you only have to, take out 5 countries. But since there are so few countries, it's suddenly more important who gets, the 3 points, the 2 points, the 1 point, because that can be crucial in the end. And, if Belarus manages to pick up, those points, like 1 point here, 2 points there, 3 points there, 4 points there, then they can make it to 10th place and then they're in the final. But I think the visuals will bring this one down. It won't look interesting, so people won't pay attention to the song. I have a feeling this is a non-qualifier as well, but I like it better than some other people in this podcast clearly do.
To be honest, this isn't a genre. I kind of the R&B, almost kind of sexist R&B route. It's not a genre I like or know, so you should possibly ignore my views. On his stage act, I really hope he doesn't go for the Robin Thicke route, which would be quite horrible. However, I think it possibly could sneak into 10th place. Just because it's slightly different to pretty much all the other songs. And so it does stand out from that. I mean, quite frankly, it's not a great song at all, and he's not a great performer. But just because it's a slightly different genre, I think it could just about sneak over the relegation line, if you see what I mean.
Just to add a few thoughts to that and clarify the Robin Thicke part in particular, it seems from the stand-in rehearsal photos that have been floating around various parts of the internet that Teo is continuing with his Robin Thicke routine, and it does look as if he's going to be on stage with a few scantily clad ladies, which I don't think will work well for Belarus, and that's why I would still suggest that they're going to be a non-qualifier.
I understand where you're coming from. Personally, I have this down as just a borderline qualifier, but can completely understand why people don't have it down. Anyway, let's move on to Macedonia. And they are sending Tijana Dapčević, and she's hoping to take us to the sky.
No, I don't wanna live without you for another day. And if I said it once, it means that you will have to say, you better hold me, dance me, sway like this forever. Take me dancing tonight. Take me now, you know I want you. Hold me now, 'cause I can't stop it now.
Tobias, did this send you to the sky, or just did it land like a lead balloon?
Well, again, this depends. It depends what these people decide to do live on the stage. My first impression of this song was that, oh, Laura Voutilainen moved to Macedonia and forgot how you do when you lip sync properly. You know, that was my first
The lip
impression.
syncing was awful in that
Yeah,
video.
and I thought it was a bad song because of that. And then I talked to someone who said, no, listen again, it's a good song. And then I listened without looking. And then it was a good song. But that first presentation of the song was so disastrous that it stood completely in the way for it. So then is the big question, are they taking it more seriously when it comes to presentation in Copenhagen? Because it is borderline here as well, you know. It is a good song, but if they don't do a good presentation of it, because it's also this kind of genre that is a bit difficult in Eurovision, because it's sort of a dance club kind of song, and they aren't produced to give that final build-up that Eurovision songs often need. So you would need a very strong visual presentation to make this kind of song work. I like it, but it depends an awful lot on what they do on stage, whether it's going to work or not. But I think it's a qualifier. I would want it to qualify. I think it's a good song.
Gavin, are you subscribing to the Sky?
Well, I kind of am, and I think Macedonia have picked a very contemporary song. I could easily picture Pink singing this. Okay, it would be better produced, but I think it's a great summary chart hit. Tijana seems to be a great vocalist, so I've no concerns there. What I do worry about, though, is how Macedonia plan to stage this song. If they follow Bulgaria's template from 2012 and leave Tijana alone on stage, I think it might struggle. The song needs backing dancers, and it desperately needs bright graphics to do well. Macedonia doesn't have many allies to count on, but I think the song could pick up support from Western nations and those with Balkan diaspora. I can't call it a qualifier, though, as I think Greece and Romania will absorb much of that support from the West and the Balkan diaspora. What I do think Macedonia does is drain even more support from Israel, which is becoming a real fanboy favourite. It's still borderline for me, but it might shock. Again, I'm very open-minded going to Copenhagen.
To be honest, I just found it unremarkable. I have very little to write about Macedonia. And I do think it might have stood more of a chance in the first semi, which is very ballad heavy. Whereas here, it's in the middle of quite a lot of up-tempo songs, and I think it might be just lost there. I've got it down as non-qualifier. I'm not certain there at all, but that's just my random judgment. Okay. Now we go on to the first ever winners in 1956 and the first hosts. Their record hasn't been so good lately. They last won in 1988. So let's see if they can improve on their record. It's Switzerland with Sebalta and Hunter of Stars.
Want me to go? Cause you think I'm lying, no. Open the door. Cause tonight I cannot go hunting for stars, no. Want me to go? Cause you think I'm lying, no. Open the door. Cause tonight I cannot go hunting for stars, no. Want me to go? Cause you think I'm lying, no. Open the door. Cause tonight I cannot go hunting for stars, no.
Gav, are they hunting the stars or are they going to miss?
I think they'll get some stars, especially from some of the people that I've spoken to. But I struggled with this song when it was first selected, but continued to back it in the outright. Sebalta is extremely charismatic and the song is a genuine foot tapper, and it's one that might be considered a sleeper hit, something that unexpectedly does well, maybe a bit like Hungary last year. Sebalta's diction has also improved, which is why I have moved it onto my qualification list. Plus, I think the juries will enjoy the instrumentation and what is a fairly current folky sound. At the moment, I think Switzerland should qualify and might be an underdog to do well in the final.
Personally, I mean, now you've moved it onto your qualification list, I would just sound one note of warning, and that's that I like this song. So it's obviously doomed. I do worry about the singer's vocal strength and the fact that he's doing a lot on stage, which might kind of detract from his vocal performance and just the need to concentrate on a lot of things. And there's also the fact that it involves whistling. I mean, that was a big thing in the late 50s, early 60s. We had songs like Tippi for Finland by Marion Drung in 1962 and April April by Lil Babs for Sweden in 1961, both of which featured whistling. But it is 2014, so I'm not sure about the whistling. What do you think, Tobias?
I love it when we so clearly disagree on something. For me, this song has non-qualifier written in huge capital letters all over it. I see this is the song I am the most sure of will fail in this semi-final, because it's not a good song, it's not a good composition, it doesn't sort of stick together. They've sort of made it sound nice now. The arrangement is better, he sings it better in the studio version, but he's not a good enough singer. He's charismatic in the video clip, but in the live show, he's not a very good performer, because what could be seen as charismatic perhaps, he's very, he comes across as frantic on the TV screen. He's too much, he's very in your face, and he doesn't keep the song together at all. I think this is the song that is full of good intentions and good ideas, and then in the end it just comes to nothing. For me, this is a pile of rubble. It's nothing, chanceless, completely chanceless. I'd be surprised if it will do better than 13th.
A damning indictment there from Mr. Larsson.
And
Okay,
it's also, I can like it. I like the whistling. I think the whistling is catchy. That's the part
You
that
like
gets stuck
the
in my head.
whistling?
I do. I think it's
Go
it's
back to the
it's a clever
1950s, Tobias.
it's a clever hook. It stands out. But that's the only positive thing I have to say about the entire song. The lyrics are awful and it doesn't sound rhythmical, and it doesn't, no, hopeless. Sorry, Switzerland. You need something better than this.
Fair enough. We like these kind of vehement opinions, absolutely. From Switzerland, which lately has not got a good record of qualification, we go to a country that has a 100% record of semi-final qualification. This is Greece. It's Freaky Fortune featuring Risky Kid with Rise Up.
Come on, rise up, jump out of what gets you down. Get higher, rise up, fly, get your feet off the ground. Come on, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise, 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 rise. I saw the rise up, come along and rise up. Music makes me want grab somebody, rise up. I saw the rise up, come along and rise up. Music makes me wanna rock somebody, rise up. Yo, I'm down to rise up. 40 shots like West up. I see you shaking. I'ma have to smack that man God. I'm blowing paper. Balling, call me.
Tobias, did this make you rise up?
But of course, it's Greece. We don't even have to argue about this. Of course it qualifies because it's Greece. They always qualify. They sent a performer called Stereo Mike and qualified. They can send in whatever they want. I actually like this. I think it's a very summery, very featherweight, very sort of dancey little effort. I don't think it will work as well in the final as most Greek entries have, but I think it's great fun. It's really nice on the first listening, and the boys are nice enough and they sell it well enough, and Greece will make a good staging. It's definitely a qualifier.
Well, okay, just because you contradicted me in the last one, I have to contradict you here. I really don't like it, but
Well, you
I
don't
agree
have to
that-
like it. It's Greece.
No, I agree that it will qualify, absolutely. But again, like you, I don't think it will do as well as Alcohol is Free did last year. I mean, I liked the first 15 seconds, and then the rapper comes in, and from then on, it's a game of hunt the song. And I'm afraid I lost that game because I couldn't find the song. Gav, what do you think?
I think I have to side with Andy here.
That's a phrase I rarely hear.
Why is it that every single Greek song is a grower? That still doesn't mean I'd like the Greek entry, I don't, but I can still appreciate its energising party feel. I do think it will be too easy for the juries to rank this song low. Eurovision juries are famous for not awarding points to songs with rap elements. And even if they overlook the rap, is it possible to argue that this is a competent and coherent song? I certainly couldn't argue that, which is why I think Greece will struggle to make the top 10 this year, especially if you note the lower number of Balkan nations participating in Copenhagen. I think Greece will qualify, but if the price gets low enough, I might lay them, given the impact of the Romanian song later in the draw, and not being 100% sure how the juries will rank the Greek entry. That said, a dazzling stage show could totally change my opinion, as it often does.
Okay, differing points of view there. Basically, I can just sum it up by saying that Greece put the C into rap. Now we move on to Slovenia. They came last in the first semi-final last year. Tinkera Kovac will be hoping that her song, Round and Round, does much better. Here's Slovenia, Tinkera Kovac with Round and Round. Gav, does that make you dizzy?
I love this song, and it is one of my favourites this year. I think the juries will rank it high, and I'm fairly confident the televoters will buy into the round and round refrain. The bilingual lyrics are not a problem for me. Unlike Poland in the first half, the change is far more subtle, and importantly, they kept the chorus in English. That is until the climax, when viewers have already engaged with the song. Over the last 2 years, there have been a few instances where 6 countries have qualified from the second half of the semi-final. This might be another example, as the last 4 songs in this semi all sound as if they should make the final, whereas the first half, there are still quite a few borderline entries for me. Slovenia have changed the staging, so according to sources, I think those guitarists have gone. Also, they've improved the climax. Again, having seen the Copenhagen stage, I think these musically superior songs could be the ones to benefit. I think Slovenia are potential qualifiers, but given they've been sandwiched between 2 Balkan beasts, it still might be a surprise if they do. But it's a borderline, which for Slovenia is a good thing at this point.
Tobias, would you like to be sandwiched between 2 Balkan beasts?
I've been in worse situations than that, so why not? Let's give it a try. If I can select them myself, then I'd be up for it. As for Slovenia, I also like this. I like Tinkara Kovac very much. I've done for many, many years. Problem is, I can't see this as a qualifier, because this, I think, is the kind of song that everyone will like, but nobody will rank it as their favorites. And televoters vote for the one song that stands out for them. Most of them do. And the juries, I don't know. You see, the thing is that Slovenia, just like Finland, don't have many friends in the world. And because the Balkan countries think they're Alpine and the Alpine countries don't care. And, they don't get any friendly votes. And I think that this song is just a tad too sophisticated and too complicated to win through on one listening. And then it doesn't help that Tinkara is a lovely vocalist, and maybe people will remember her because of the flute and everything, but I have a hard time seeing this qualifying. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it's a qualifier.
I'm actually with you, Tobias, on the non-qualifying thing. My first notes were Balkan pipes warning, but it was a flute rather than something more ethnic. And for me, it just gives way to an unremarkable pop song. I do like the fact that there's a line, "I'm going to show you how to breathe." Is this a problem in Slovenia? Do people not know how to breathe? I do
Depends
wonder.
who you ask.
Well, quite, but you've only got about 30 seconds to ask them, surely, before they expire. So I do worry about the health of the people of Slovenia.
Interesting to see how many people in the backing group survive the 3 minutes on stage then.
That could actually be something that helps them qualify. Dying backing singers.
You'd need a new backing group for the final, though.
That's true, but quite frankly, I think that we've come up with a way for them to qualify. Dying backing singers. Anyway, and now we go on to the final song of the second semi-final. It's a returning act. They came third in 2010, but maybe they're playing with fire by returning for Romania again this year. Here's Paola and Ovi with Miracle.
Now you know what it's like, and you're starting to feel it, but you just can't deny it's incredible. If I only knew all the things you could tell me, we could be dancing with stars in the night. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. I can see it now. All the things you see, I think I see them too. All for you and me.
Tobias, according to the Bible, one of Jesus' miracles was turning water into wine. Is this a fine Rioja or just a bottle of Blue Nun?
What can I say? Let me start by pointing out that I think this is a sure qualifier. And I'm a little bit puzzled by Danish television why they selected this one to end the running order. It's like, it's such a sure qualifier. Why didn't they give someone else the benefits of singing last? I don't really get that. But that's beside the point. It's a sure qualifier. And perhaps in this entire semi, it's my least favorite song. I think this is awful. I think this is such a complete bunch of rubbish, a complete non-song. Nothing happens in it. It's just a lot of effects, like bam, 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 this, that, effect. And now key change and this and this and that and that. And I think it's horrible. I think it's such a disappointing entry to follow up Playing with Fire. And of course it will qualify, it will do reasonably well in the final, but nowhere near as well as they did in 2010. I think this is horrible.
I think you've made your opinion clear here, Tobias. For me, it reminded me of a certain song in the Finnish national final. It reminded me of All Over the World by Clarissa and Josh, with the key difference that the female singer could actually sing. I didn't mind it. I liked the harmonies. But I found, to be honest, Paola and Ovi, for quite a dancey song, they're quite static performers. So they will need a huge stage show. I mean, yes, I agree, certain qualifier, given its position and Romania's record. But,
and for the record also, I love Paula Seling. I think she's a wonderful performer. I love her voice. I would have loved for her to have something to work with. But this is just a bunch of special effects. It's very little of a song here.
Okay, Gav. Paula Seling, good. Miracle, horrible. Would you agree?
Actually, I don't mind the song, but it's clear it's no Playing with Fire. However, Paula and Ovi's chemistry, and certainly Paula's voice, are probably the most important factors for Romania. I think the juries will reward both elements highly. Miracle is rather generic, contrived, and very forced in its approach, as Tobias has suggested. But it's still fun, radio-friendly, and perfect for the Saturday night audience. If you go back to Ukraine in 2012 with Gaetana, that was a very generic dance song that nobody thought would do well. And actually the juries ranked it very high indeed. The televote didn't go so well, but that was down to other issues. But the juries will reward a powerful vocal, and I think Paula does very well in this song. But the staging is the key for Romania. And at the national final, they experimented with holographic effects, but they both looked way out of their comfort zone without the piano. It's important they fine-tune these parts to appeal to the TV viewers, because if it looks wrong, the TV viewers will be the first to spot it. I think it qualifies easily, and I think given that there are any number of probably 7 countries that could potentially win this year, I wouldn't discount Romania totally. If it comes up with that miraculous stage show, so to speak, I think it could be an outsider to keep an eye on.
Gav,
it's not original. It's not original, and the juries are also supposed to place extra points with songs they feel are original, and this is in no way original, so they could hold it down for that as well. So we never know.
I'm not sure. I think you could go back several years and look at the top 4 and think that, hang on, that song sounds like this song and this song sounds like that song. There are many similarities between songs year on year, so I think originality is very subjective. I think certain juries of a Balkan persuasion might be more inclined to vote it highly, and I think the Romanian song will certainly fare better with the juries. So I think it's all up in the air. I wouldn't discount it just on that basis.
Okay, Gav, you're the betting expert. What do you reckon the odds are on this getting 12 points from Moldova?
I don't think I'd be willing to lay any bets for that. I think that's a certainty.
No, fair enough. Okay, so that was the last song discussed. We have differing opinions, which is always fun. And now, since we've come to the end of semi-final 2, I'd like to ask our contributors which 5 songs out of the 15 do they think will not make the cut? I will actually start, so you can both laugh at me, basically. The 5 songs I have down as not qualifying are Israel, Georgia, Lithuania, Macedonia, and Slovenia. Tobias, laugh at me.
I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm puzzled that you think Israel won't qualify. That's puzzling in my world.
I just find it unremarkable.
Yeah, but that's beside the point. I think Romania is unremarkable, but I still think it will qualify. Well, anyway, my 5 countries, but it's really hard. I must stress that again because it so much depends on the lower points. I think that the 5 ones that will be out are Georgia, Lithuania, Belarus, Switzerland, and Slovenia. But then again, I have a bunch of 3 countries that could easily replace, either one of these 3 could easily replace either one of these 5. And it's like Finland, Ireland, Macedonia that are all borderline. It's like give a shaky performance for one and a good performance from Georgia, and then Finland is out and Georgia is in, but I stick with my 5 until, like, as things are now.
You really see Finland as being under threat from Georgia?
We're always under threat from everyone. We never believe in qualification until Finland comes out from a little envelope, It doesn't matter. We didn't believe Lordi would qualify, and well, we sort of hoped, we had good hopes, but we didn't think Lordi would qualify until they qualified. And that's what comes along with being from a country like Finland. You never know. We so many times thought we had found something that Europe will really like, and then nobody liked it, and nobody voted for it, and we were out on our ears. So we've learned.
Okay, fair enough. And finally, from the depressed Finn to the happy West Midlander. Gav, what are your 5?
I would probably say Israel, mainly because I think Macedonia, Greece, and Romania take the wind out of their sails. I would also say Georgia, for obvious reasons. Belarus, I don't see any jury support for this. And Macedonia, I'd say, just misses out, mainly because there's really not enough support for it. But then I'm kind of suggesting, Slovenia might miss out. And then I'd probably say Poland are in danger.
Really?
Well,
that's interesting.
Well, those who were lucky enough to watch a stand-in rehearsal video of Poland last night, and that wasn't just any rehearsal video, it was actually from the arena in Copenhagen. They were lucky enough to see the backdrop and all of the choreography. And it does seem as if Poland have made the mistake of retaining the sexualized elements of their video, which I just don't think will go down very well with the juries and what tends to be quite a prudish TV audience. I just don't think the TV audience will appreciate the cleavage on show, which was apparent in the video. And also, I don't think the new version of Poland's song works particularly well, and it's probably a bit too ethnic, as was discussed last week by Tim, and I don't think the bilingual elements work as well. I think they should have kept it 100% Polish, and I think the English ending to the song just doesn't sit well. It's far too jarring. You know what? It's been around since the summer. A lot of people have heard it. Really, are people really going to vote for it again out of loyalty? I'm not sure. Are they going to be more inclined to vote for something new? Who knows? There's a lot of question marks, but I think Poland's borderline.
Okay, so Poland at risk, and on that bombshell, that's it from us this week. We'll be back next week, hopefully with 2 guests to discuss this year's automatic qualifiers. All that remains for me is to thank our guests so much. Tobias, thank you so much for making the time from your idyllic archipelago location.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much, Gavin, and thank you for the job you've got of rubbing out our mistakes and making the whole thing fit for broadcast.
No problem, and this is a thank you from a less than idyllic West Midlands.
Indeed, indeed. And here from the stabbier part of southeast London, this is Andy Redburn saying goodbye, and once again, please support us by sharing ESCtips.com and this podcast with your friends. But thank you for listening, and goodbye.